Welcome back to the Scotti-BYTE channel, and this is Scott. So today I wanted to discuss a little something about DNS, or specifically local DNS and Incus containers. Let's start by creating a very simple Incus container with Incus launch images, Ubuntu 24.04, and we're going to call the name of the container test. And then we'll do an Incus shell into the test container. And so I have several local DNS names on my network, and one example would be my Bitwarden container. So if I try to do a ping on Bitwarden, it will come back and say temporary failure in name resolution, and that's what we'd expect. If we go out to the internet, on the other hand, and just simply do a ping of google.com, that will actually work correctly. But it's the local DNS settings that I want to fix in this particular tutorial. In the case of Ubuntu containers, they are using systemd resolve. So if I do a systemctl status systemd-resolved, here we can see that the systemd resolve service is up and running. And that would be the typical way in Ubuntu that we would be resolving DNS addresses. However, if we go and we look at the resolve.conf file, you can see that it is talking to a stub file that is located over in /etc/resolve.conf. So if I cat out that file, you'll see that the contents are simply name server 127.0.053 and some other options down here which do not allow for local DNS translation. To get around this and to create a local DNS capability, we're going to create a script. So I'm going to exit out of the container and go back to my Incus server, which in this case is demo-1, and I'm going to do a nano on Incus DNS, which will be the name of my script file. This script deletes resolve.conf, and in so doing removes the symbolic link for resolve.conf, which is pointing to the systemd resolved stub that's out there. And so therefore I am replacing that with my own new resolve.conf file, and in my case I'm pointing to 172.16.0.10, which is the address of my local DNS, and then I'm providing a secondary DNS, which is the Cloudflare primary DNS. So with that in mind, I'll go ahead and do a Control-O and Enter to write the file out, and a Control-X to exit the nano editor. Whenever we create a script in Linux, we have to assign it execute privilege, and we do that with the chmod +X. And that way you can execute the script, otherwise it lacks the privilege to execute it. Next, in my home folder, I'm going to create a /bin file, or a /bin folder that will be inside of my home folder. And next I'm going to go ahead and create myself a logical link to my script file, or a symbolic link. Now that I've created this symbolic link, we're going to go ahead and update my path inside of my .bashrc file, which is kind of your login file, and I do that with this echo command, where I echo that pathway over to bashrc, thus adding the /bin folder that we just created. And finally, to execute this in real time, I go ahead and execute a source command which reruns that .bashrc script. Just as a review, if we go back inside of that test container with an Incus shell test, and then I attempt to do my ping command that I had up here for pinging to Bitwarden, we get the temporary failure in name resolution. Now if I exit back out of the container and run my script, which simply accepts the name of a container, I will say Incus DNS test, and that will go ahead and modify that test container to have my new local DNS. Now when I go back inside of the test container and ping Bitwarden, I get a ping for my local DNS name for Bitwarden. So in summary, if you have a local DNS on your network and you use Incus Containers, I think that this Incus DNS script will be extremely handy. Anyway, that's it for today. Please subscribe and like to the channel, and don't forget to hit your notification bell, and we'll see you next time.